Hey friend, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about user research. It's been a while since I last talked about user research on this channel, but I'm sure as you know, user research is a really important part of the design process. It's a great opportunity for you to test any concepts or design ideas that you have with real users, get their feedback, get the insights, and then turn that into design decisions that you can then use as rationale. In the last year, I've been participating more and more in unmoderated user testing sessions, which is where I create a prototype, a user test, and I send it out to users to asynchronously test. Then I get the results back later, digest them, and then turn them into insights. And there's a tool that is really good for doing this, and it's called Useberry. Useberry is a user testing tool that lets you set up and create unmoderated user tests. You can integrate with any of your favorite design tools, whether it's Sketch, Figma, even prototyping tools like Marvel and Envision, and send your prototypes straight into Useberry. Useberry helps you gather those insights that you need to make better product and design decisions that ultimately let you create a better product experience. After sending out your user test, you'll receive a range of user insights such as heat maps, answers to quizzes and flows, and surveys. You'll be able to see exactly how a user interacted with your prototype, and you can even gather video recordings. This tool is going to be a game changer for your user research workflow. Let's jump into it. Here I am in Useberry and I'm going to start a new project. And there's a range of templates that you can choose from to get started in Useberry, but I'm going to go ahead and create from scratch. The first thing you're going to see here is a welcome screen, and this is how your users are going to get introduced to the user test. You can customize and modify this as necessary, but I'm going to leave this as is. Let's jump on over to the intro screen. You can customize the intro screen and give it a bit of branding so that it feels a little bit more official. If you have a company logo, you might want to upload that here as an image, and then give a little bit of context to why this person is receiving this link, what this user test is about, so that they have a bit of confidence to get started. In the intro screen, you can also add a set of screening questions if you like, and this is a good way to maybe filter out people that don't quite fit the criteria of who you want to test for this research. So depending on how a user answers these screening questions, they might get disqualified from the test so that they don't continue. If I go ahead and set up a screening question, perhaps I want to ask a question like, have you used a meditation app in the last 30 days? Yes. No, so I can add my different answers here, and then I can choose which answer I want to sort of qualify the tester and allow them to move forward. So in this case, I want no to be the qualifying answer, so I'm going to uncheck yes. So this is a great way to collect some information about the user before the test starts and target a certain audience. I'm just going to have this one screening question for now, but of course you can add more screening questions if you need to. Now, so far our test has this intro screen, a screening question, and then a welcome screen and a thank you screen. So now we need to create our test between the welcome and end screen. Useberry is like a sequence of blocks, and you can add as many blocks as you like to make up your user test, and each block may represent a different kind of study you want to do. So for example, if I click on add block here, you can see the different kinds of available blocks that we have to make up our user test. And there's a range of blocks here. Maybe you want to do a questionnaire, maybe you want to give users a single task within a prototype, maybe a 5-second test where you show them a screen for 5 seconds followed by a series of questions. There's a range of different blocks here, and you can mix and match them as necessary. If you didn't want to do an actual user test and you just wanted to do a survey, then you would just select the questions here. And if I select this now, you can see that you can add multiple different kinds of questions. Maybe you want multiple choice, opinion scale, or text. All right, I'm gonna delete the question one for now, and what I actually want to do is add in a single task. For a single task, I'm gonna bring in a prototype that I have and then ask the user to complete a certain task in the prototype. As you can see here, Useberry integrates with many different design tools, whether you're on Sketch, Envision, Adobe XD, Figma, Marvel, doesn't matter, you can bring your prototype right into this tool. If you've already brought your prototype into Useberry, then you can just click on Add Prototype and select it from your library, but I haven't done that yet, so let's head on over to Figma and bring our prototype in. So here in Figma, I have a community file that you can actually find on the Figma community library called Meditation App UI. Shout out to Afsar for making this amazing resource. So over here in Figma, in order to import my prototype into Useberry, I'm going to use the Useberry plugin. What's cool about the plugin is that you can choose select screens that you want to bring in, or you can bring in the entire screen prototype. So I'm going to click on upload, and then it's going to ask me to select my layers or screens. I'm just going to select all of them and then click on continue. And now I'm going to choose the first option here, import prototype into Useberry. This gives me a little bit more control in Useberry, where I can actually then see video recordings later on of the prototype. So let's go ahead and select this one. And it's going to take a minute or so to upload. Let's just give it a name. Meditation app, and here we go. It's important to note that I've already created the prototype here in Figma. So if I head on over to prototype view, you'll see I've got all my nice and tidy, clean prototype links. Make sure that you do that here in Figma, because you're not going to be able to do that over in Useberry. But you are able to sync back and forth. So don't worry, if you end up making a change here in Figma, you can just immediately sync it back to Useberry via the plugin. All right, let's head on over to Useberry and add our prototype. And now we can see our meditation app nicely imported here. All right, so I brought my prototype in as a single task. And here I can set up what the task is, some instructions, and set up a start and ending screen. So I'm going to set up a task of how would you start a course? Where in the app would you go to start a meditation course? Okay, let's set our start screen as the sign up screen, and let's set up our task completion as, okay, let's go through it. Let's do sign up, get started, reduce stress, no thanks. And then let's set it as this happiness course, happy morning course. Let's save this as the completion. So this is the flow or the path that the user needs to take in order to sort of successfully complete this task. If you like, you can also set up an alternative completion if maybe you have multiple ending points. And something else you can do, which I'm actually going to go and do now, is set this task to successfully complete on a specific screen. So I don't necessarily care as much how they get there, but I want them to eventually get to this happy morning course screen. So I'm going to save that as the completion, because there might be multiple paths in your app to get to a screen. So whether you want them to take a specific linear path or they can get there any way they want, you can set that up here in Useberry. Okay, so that is my test. I'm going to leave my thank you screen as is. Again, if I wanted to, I could add another block here, but I think I'm going to leave this one for now as a single task. If you'd like, you can preview this before you actually start sharing this out. So here's just a look at what this looks like. This is the welcome screen followed by our screening question that we set up. So remember, I chose no as the qualifier to continue. So now I get to actually start doing this single task. So here we see the question and the prompt, and then I can sort of go through this prototype and eventually get to our ending screen. Of course, I know where to go because I set this up. So there you saw I got to that ending successful screen, and now my test is completed and I successfully did the task. To actually set this live and start collecting results, I can head on over to the share tab here, and then it will tell me it's not yet live. So I want to make this an active test. If you like, you can add custom variables. Perhaps you want to track who's sort of taking which link. There's a few other options here. I'm not going to go into detail of it. You can share it in different ways, but basically now our test is live. And if I copy this link and open it up in a new tab, it is going to load our test live. I just put this test live, but I do want to show you what the results look like. So let's actually jump on over to another project that I have, and I've had this project open for a little bit longer, so I actually have some results here. This is a different test. So here you can see I've actually got a few blocks for this test, and if we go over to results, let's take a look at what we've got. Here you can see an overview of all of the aggregated results and data that we've gotten from this test. You can see most people completed it. one person dropped off. You can also see how long it took people to go through this test, and you can see the individual sessions. If you like, you can also go into individual blocks and see results for those particular blocks. Now, let's take a look at this heat map. So here, as I go through the heat map, I can see where people are clicking on each screen, where are the really sort of hot parts of the screen. Look, you can see some people tried to select this one, most people were selecting the first one. So this can be really helpful just to see how people are actually interacting with the screens of your prototype. Now you can also view screen recordings of each test. So let's head on back onto overview, and in these sessions here, you can see I can actually play a session recording of the test. And so this will actually show me how this particular user interacted with our test, and you can see at various points them moving, clicking, scrolling, or even touching. If they actually loaded that test link on their mobile device, they can take the test on a phone as well. It doesn't just have to be on a desktop. So this will show you any touches or interactions with their phone as well. Recordings can be really helpful, especially in cases where people maybe dropped off in your test and you want to see why they were dropping off, at which point they maybe got confused or frustrated or weren't sure how to proceed. A video recording can be really helpful to see that insight. You can also get more granular with these insights by actually adding filters and then turning those filters into segments. And these filters are dynamic too, depending on your test. So in this case, where we actually had a question, we could filter out based on the responses to a question that we had in the prototype. If you need to, you can export all of this data as a CSV and do all of your filtering and chart building in another tool if you wish. Lastly, if you've used Figma, you can actually view all of these results right in Figma without having to go to Useberry at all, which is pretty cool. So back here in Figma, I have the Useberry plugin open, and I can click into my meditation app, and it will show me that I've set up a single task and that there's one result. So one person has taken my user test, and we can actually see the results of this test right here in Figma, where I can see the session. If I want, I can play the video recording and it'll open it up straight from Figma. I can also view heat maps and view the user flows right from within Figma, so I don't have to jump to the other tool, which is really sweet. And that is Useberry. I think this is a really exciting tool for unmoderated research and user testing sessions. Currently, you can use the tool completely for free for up to 10 responses, so no excuse really to not get started using this tool. You can create a workspace, and of course you can invite your team, have collaborators, and lastly, create a share link to the results that you can send directly to your stakeholders. Useberry have been very generous to give me a 20% off code that you can use to get started on their team plan today. Okay, friend, if you have any other tools that you're really excited about that you'd like to see me walk through on this channel, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, see you next time. Have a great week. Bye.